some more Smash Brothers topics to talk about.
Smash Brothers topics.
Smash Brothers topics. This one comes by way of an update. It's going to be a day one patch when the game comes out, and it's going to have a little bit of a change to one of the character's appearances during one of its moves. So apparently, Mr. Game & Watch, one of the changes that they're doing to the character is they're making his a lot of his moves. It doesn't just look like the standard Game & Watch model that we've seen in previous Smash Brothers games. He's going to actually take on the appearance of how he looked like in his original LCD games. So, because he had a, I don't know, I guess he'd have like, cartoon more you'd actually see eyes on him, and he would be dressed up in different ways. Like if I think there was one game where you're fireman Mr. Game & Watches, and you have to like catch people on trampolines, and of course he's dressed up as a fireman. Mm-hmm. One of the, it looks like his final smash is of course when he uses a burning torch to attack people. Mm-hmm. And in the new Smash Brothers game, they were going to reference the original game that was where he appears as a Native American / First Nation character with a feather on the back and holding the torch out. So someone caught that in the original marketing materials, and this is what they tweeted at Nintendo. Please check and spread the below thread from Reset Era. Mr. Game & Watch's new forward smash in Smash Ultimate is a direct reference to a Game & Watch game featuring racist depictions of Native Americans. I'm Native and this hurts. At Nintendo America, can you help? And then Nintendo responded, we sincerely apologize that this change was not noticed in our marketing material and are continuing our work to make Super Smash Bros. Ultimate an experience that is both welcoming and fun for everyone. So, the game that it references is a game called Fire Attack. Came out in 1982, and it was a cowboy game where you defended a wooden fort from screaming Native Americans who wielded burning torches and wore feathers in their hair.
Wow.
Okay? So,
that's a nice description.
Question of the day. Is this racist or not?
Yes. Next question.
Oh, it is?
But to be fair, though, like, how difficult is it for a Japanese company to interpret what could potentially be racist? They don't know the backstory. Like, they're game developers that probably... They have to deal with not just like censorship in North America. They also have the European censorship that they have to go through. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting seeing various, like Nintendo, for instance, various games that they come up with, and seeing the different types of censorships for different games. And you're thinking to yourself, why is that censored? But that's because we have no idea the history of that country.
Right. And Nintendo used to be really heavy on censorship. I mean, they used to... Oh, this is super strange because they used to have like a zero tolerance for religious references, and yet the original Legend of Zelda, Link's shield, has a cross on it.
Oh, yeah.
The original, like for NES.
Right, I'm looking right at it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were... Well, okay, to be fair, I've got a couple of shields behind me.
That one,
that one. How is this racist?
It's racist because, like, the depiction of the natives that were here were that they were just these barbaric, uncivilized people that were just bloodthirsty, going out to set fire to everybody, and that's not how it was. And it's a stigma that they are plagued with, that you hear from their communities to this day, and people still see them and think, oh yeah, firewater, and like other racist, things come to mind as far as Native Americans. So they just want to get beyond like how people were thinking of them, even in the 80s, like that's how people depicted Native Americans. And they don't think about the rich culture, they don't think about, like their religious beliefs or anything like that. So it's race. Is it racist? Yes. Is anybody did anybody do it to be racist? No. It's something that happened and it was caught. I work with Nintendo of North America. I find this offensive. Could you please assist? And they went, oh, is this offensive? And then they probably did research and went, oh, this is offensive. And they released an update and they owned up and they apologized and they fixed it. So is anybody should anybody be in trouble? I think it's an honest mistake that happens when some Japanese country tries to do something and doesn't realize that that's offensive in another country.
Yeah, it's like you said, they're all the way on the other side of the world. How are they supposed to know?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's racist.
Thank you.
And here's why. I mean, I've never heard of. Well, for one thing, I do think that the article is a little bit biased when it says screaming Native Americans. This was a Game & Watch game. You didn't have voice samples in there, so. To say that they're screaming Native Americans, I think that
his mouth was open. He was clearly being terrifying.
Well, I mean, if you're batting them away, or I don't even know how the game plays, if you're shooting them or whatever. But I mean, cowboys and Indians, it's a thing. I don't think that there's a single racist stereotype of a native with just holding a torch. Like exactly. I don't consider that a stereotype. I mean, and the thing is is this something that kind of depicts something that did tend to happen where you did have, settlers in conflict with natives? Sure, it happened. There were when you study the history, there were injustices that definitely happened on both sides.
Yeah. But the fact is that in the video games, you're always, defending against the natives. It's always the cowboys.
Assassin's Creed 3. Huh? Assassin's Creed 3 is a great example. You play as one. You actually play. It's neat because you play as one who's half English and half native.
I've not even thought about looking at an Assassin's Creed game in a long
time. Okay, but my thing is too, Steven. To your point, it's also just a reference to a game in the past. Like Cowboys and Indians, that was a thing for a really long time, growing up, for kids way back then who they like to play like that, reenact it, and for that to be in a video game, that's kind of what came from.
But I'm sure that in and of itself is considered by
but what I'm saying is it's just a callback to a game.
And I think that's what Jake and Matt what you guys were trying to getting at. They weren't doing it to be racist. Yeah. And I understand that the complaint is coming from someone who is native, but
also works within the company, within Nintendo North America.
That person kind of sounds like a wimp.
But here's what I would like to know. So I'm American and also part Italian. So does Mario's depiction of Italian Americans, if I get offended, do I get to write to Nintendo of America and ask them to change Mario's character? Because that you could make the argument there that even Mario is kind of racist. I mean, we kept talking about Super Mario 64 and how he goes to sleep and he goes
lasagna,
spaghetti, ravioli. I mean, he's just dreaming about Italian food.
You're speaking on the side of somebody that's that's not Native American. If somebody who is Native American is offended by it, then and they feel that it's racist, then I think that should be taken into consideration. Somebody was offended by it, and so they raised a complaint, and Nintendo probably saw the foresight of other people are probably going to be offended as well, and they made a correction to it.
The big question here is Elizabeth Warren offended by this? That's what I want to know. We gotta ask
you won't
her.
Get into that, but but I just want to know. But to that point, can I, since I'm part Italian, can I make the complaint that, I find Mario to be a racist depiction, and they'd have to change Mario from here on out? I kind of feel like
it can't be that subjective.
Right. I mean, we can go into other examples. I'm also part Irish. This isn't video game related, but the Fighting Irish. That whole thing. I mean, if you can, I just feel like there are certain groups that get special treatment at times when a complaint is made or when something is noticed that it's like automatically, okay, oops, sorry. Well,
It's also specific groups that have gone through a level of persecution and adversity. You know,
I would make the argument that all groups have at some point. And I would say could say more. Sure,
depends.
more.
You're just a
more or
white
less.
male,
it
Steven, you
also
don't know.
depends on which country you're in, you know, and the history of that nation as well. Yeah, all groups, at some point, you know, throughout human history.
Yeah, Italians and Irish both had severe, Irish need not apply.
Yeah.
Italians, oh, you're Italian American. You live in New York. You must be a gangster. You know, you must be connected to the mob. I've literally heard that. Never once got offended by it, but at the same time, maybe that's just me. I don't know. I kind of feel like I think we've gotten overall, people have gotten softer skinned over these matters, and when that happens, and when people actually make it a point to say that bothers me. Well, even as a Christian, I see stuff all the time that goes against, you know, what's said against Christianity. I just don't say anything because I understand that, well, people are going to be people. People are going to say things that, or express things that I don't like. I don't know. I didn't mean to get it to be to go much further beyond what's Mr. Game
Okay.
Watch. I would just end my portion of it by saying I don't have an issue with them doing it like this, or, you know, making it so that he depicts the game that the movie was originally from. I'm cool with it.
I've grown up with and know people that would have an issue because of their heritage, like where they come from. So, you know, I take the other side of the fence as far as that's concerned.
Matt, anything else to add?
I'm super no conflict, and I don't want to step anywhere in that circle, so I'm good.
Okay, well, my thing is, why not just let it be history? Like, I don't know. I feel like if you're Native American and you see that, why can't you just say, yeah, that's a historical reference to stuff that did actually used to happen, and not take it as, oh, they're saying that we're like savages who burn people today. Like, that's something that they're labeling us as. You know what I mean? Because that's ultimately what it was, right? It was a historical game about cowboys and Indians.
So when you say history, are you talking about like historical as in like, you know, that's how the game was? Or are you talking about historical like that's
Both.
how it
Both. They did fight a lot.
Right, but I think you're misunderstanding like the situation though, because it's not historically accurate. The people that wrote the history were of one side. And, like, you know, a lot of the accounts of that weren't historically
Well,
accurate.
what I'm saying, not necessarily who's right and wrong in those conflicts, just the fact that they happened, you know? I mean,
I think,
Like, you did have cowboys
Yeah.
versus Indians,
that's what
Right.
I mean.
or natives, but
Yeah.
I mean, the trope is called
Feather
cowboys
Indians,
and
not dot
Indians.
Indians.
And for the most part, you know, since then throughout history, it's, you know, been depicted as the cowboys being the good guys and the Indians being the bad guys.
And what
And
it
I
was
think
is it was a conflict. It was a war. It was, you know, it was
I mean,
two sides fighting. You can get into the minutia of, you know, were they right here? Were they wrong here? I just kind of feel like beyond that history, cowboys and Indians has become something that is just part of culture. And we got to the point where you can't even go dressed as a Native American for Halloween unless you're already Native, in which case, well, it wouldn't be Halloween for you. You would just be dressing as your ancestors dressed.
I think that the scope of this conversation goes a bit outside of a video game podcast.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't think that we're going to reach an understanding about this kind of topic in this setting.
Yeah, it would be nice to actually have, like, if there's any natives watching, any Native Americans watching, that'd be fantastic to, like, get your input and hear what you have to say, or even if you're if you're a minority, like, you know, like I've put forth, like, hey, I'm an Italian American who, you know, I see chubby Mario running around,
Right.
you know, loving lasagna, and, you know, I could very easily say that. But what were
I've
you
got a
gonna
few I
say
can
before?
ask.
You've got a few you can ask. Yeah, send the video their way. But either way, in any case, no matter how this shakes out, you're not going to see it in the game because it's going to get patched out day one. I don't know if they're going to go back to the original where he has no caricatures, or they're just going to remove the feather on the back of his head. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be something that probably we'll only hear about now. So if you probably want to see it in the game, you could probably just not connect to the internet and just play it unpatched. But you can do that if you want to.